What's up, guys and gals? It's time for the latest chapter review for Strike It Rich, and this chapter is chapter 76. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's not a bad chapter, but it's a setup chapter. It's just giving us the whole lay of the land of Crusher and Slasher. It's giving us the entire idea, and we're supposed to be so fearful of this person. We're supposed to be so scared because we're bringing up things like the Inaba clan and the Cure clan, and then there's this other third clan that I don't think, it might have been mentioned once in Kengan proper, but never been mentioned. And then there was the up-and-coming vigilante Beelzebub group of Death's Angels and stuff, and she was one of them, and she was the leader, and she got shot 20 times, hence all the scars and stuff like that across her body, more the splatter scars that, gunshot wounds after healing leave. And we spend the first half of the chapter basically amping her up, amping out Crusher and Slasher, and I don't think that's a bad thing. But at the end of the day, that's what this chapter was doing. It took me completely out of the moment, however, when we were bringing up, okay, these are comparable, we're trying to give her some credit where credit is due, trying to say, hey, she's got the pedigree to be spoken about in the same vein by the police forces anyway, as things like the Inaba and the Cure clan. It's like, alright, fair. Her organization has been wiped out at this junction. However, she was shot 20 times by police, survived, and also was headed up to be right on that level. And it's like, alright, fair enough. You're trying to make us understand the full threat of this person. The entirety of that threat, right? And right out of the gate, as I said, it took me completely out of the moment. Her other name, Crusher and Slasher, which is already very 90s cartoon, Sonic the Hedgehog versus Dr. Robotnik, levels like, meet my latest minions, Crusher, Slasher, Slicer, Destroyer, Brick Breaker. It's a little on the nose. It's a little campy sounding from out of the gate, and then they doubled, nay, tripled down. I'm going to call this not just a double down, a triple down. Double downs are delicious, by the way. Terrible for you, but KFC double down, mwah. When that shit came out, I worked my ass off for 6 days so I could justify eating one of those things. I worked out for 2 hours a day just to make sure, okay, I'm not going to get fat overnight, right? Double downs are delicious. Do they still have it? I don't think you can order one right now. Anyways, tripling down on this one. Tomato and onion. Okay. There is one actual universe where this might work. One in all of manga. And it'd be the Torikoverse. In the Torikoverse, you have abilities named after foods, named after cuisine, knife and fork and all that stuff. You have, and everything sounds deadly. He has gourmet cells. Nani? Okay, fine dandy. Tomato and onion might work as a pseudonym, as a powerful nickname in the Torikoverse. But I would even argue in probably my second favorite food-based manga of all time, Shokugeki no Soma, it would sound silly in that manga. And that manga gives foodgasms, for God's sakes, when you eat a spicy tuna roll. So, I'm just saying that the ridiculousness, it took me completely out of the moment. And I tried to justify it. I mean, logically it makes sense. Crushes them like tomatoes and slices them like an onion. Once again, in a food manga, it would be campy, but might work. But this is not a food manga, so it completely made me snort when I read that. I went, what? Are you serious? Like, big grin on my face, totally destroyed any amping up that this character just had, and I said, no, she's gonna die. She's gonna lose. She's gonna be all, oh yes, I'm the tomato and the onion. Look at me, I so big. I kept thinking of like a third grader trying to pretend to be an adult at this point that didn't actually go through any type of, like, language class. Like, me big dumb, me crush, me slash. Like, that whole page completely destroyed the build up, the amp up of this character, and actually made her recede in my mind, and I could not take anything she was saying seriously, because all I could think of was like a bad Arnold impersonation on YouTube by a woman. Like, that's the best I can describe it as, like a bad Terminator impression, and I'm just like, no, that was the wrong bloody choice, literally, because now I can't take this fight seriously. This is for shits and or giggles, as far as I'm concerned. I have no threat level whatsoever. Any threat level that she had, any aura, that she had, any like, that's the best word to describe it. Any aura, any fan level of aura farming that was going on, completely destroyed by that line, because it would only work in a food manga. And even then, tomato and onion, really? Like, it's so on the nose, as I said, it's like a 96-year-old cartoon, It's like I'm watching a dubbed episode of 4Kids, like, which, once again, I grew up with 4Kids. I love 4Kids. A lot of people shit on them, but that was a lot of my childhood, and a lot of it still holds up. But a lot of their jokes were on the nose. A lot of them were, So, yeah, gonna be honest with you. While the chapter itself is not bad, takes half the chapter building up the opponent, takes the other half to start the fight. Choreography's good, the art is always good, and we're supposed to be like super, oh shit, Rei is out here and she's one of the stars, so she might be a pretty good opponent for this person, and doing Army Breaker, and oh, she can Army Breaker with a kick and stuff now, and it's seemingly doing nothing to crush her and slash her quite yet. Like, she's taking the hits, but it's not phasing her in any way, and now she's going on the offensive at the end of the chapter. All fine, dandy. But as I said, that right in the middle of the chapter took me out of the moment, and I don't think the chapter recovered for it. And this is someone, like, once again, I like campy things. I like comedy in my manga. I love the idea that, especially when in-universe they apply it, when they do some fourth wall breaking, like Beast Wars or, 90s cartoons or Deadpool or anything like that, when they break that stuff. Or even in mangas like One Piece, where, the comedic thing is that Nami can beat the shit out of, Conquer's hockey level people like Luffy and stuff like that, and then Jinbei was literally like, oh, is Nami got Conquer's hockey? What's going on here? Like, in universe, even characters are like, how is she beating the ever-loving shit out of one of the strongest characters in the verse, And because it's comedy, you have that power of comedy, power-up sort of idea, and that's in a lot of manga, and that's fine. I'm good with that. But this was supposed to be taken seriously, and this series doesn't do a whole lot of puns like that, you know what I mean? Imagine if Kuroki Gensai's Devil Lance was called, the two-finger pitchfork tomorrow, or the two-finger fork, and Agito's Dragon Shot was called the Wham Bam Thank You Ma'am, or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, it would that not take you out of the moment? If the character is based in puns, that's different. If you had a character with a clown-like persona, like the Joker or something, like an evil clown idea, and they named all their attacks after circus memes or something like that, you know what I mean? That would work. That would 100% work, because they'd still be deadly when they were doing their thing. But I'm supposed to take this character seriously with, as I said, a very 7-year-old's comic book cartoon crusher and slasher name, and then they go a step further. As I said, in my mind, 2 steps. Tomato and onion? Like, tomato and onion is... Seriously. Like, out of all nicknames. My God, that is... Yeah, I can't get over that. I'm sorry. I read Chapter 76 3 times before doing this review, and I like the portions outside of that. The backstory was fine. They're trying to amp her up like she's Cure Clan levels. She's not. But, they're just trying to amp her up and stuff like that, and I wasn't really buying it. And then they totally destroyed any credibility and aura she had, and now they're trying to make her look good against one of the weakest characters on the Valkyria, in my opinion. I'm sorry, Army Breaker, it ain't it. And you know, the Ninth Star, I've never been a huge fan of her character since she was introduced, and she has not impressed me. So at this point, I'm sitting here like, okay, you sort of flipped the narrative in a bad way in the first half, and then in the second half, like, anybody can beat the shit out of Rey. You know what I mean? In my mind. So I'm just like, anyone in Valkyria has got a chance against Rey. So you're not impressing me by taking a few of her hits, you know? So, I don't know. 76, while well-paced, decent chapter and stuff, definitely took me out of the moment right there in the middle, and I don't think it recovered, and it only hurt itself. But what do you guys think? Am I being too harsh about that? Is it just meant to be for fun or something? But I think it was too silly. I think it was way too silly. Like doing an Adam West Batman, who, once again, if you're watching Adam West Batman, that's great. You know what to expect. But you imagine in the middle of Dark Knight Rises, in the pit or something, or the middle of the Joker interrogation in the Dark Knight, Christian Bale and Heath Ledger are going at it, and Christian Bale pulls out an Adam West line. You know, like, that would not work. That would take you out of the moment. You see what I'm saying? Like, you gotta read the room. And that room was not tomato and onion. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was not. So, anyways, that's my spiel. Hope you still enjoy. Once again, I don't hate the chapter for it. I think it was just a bad narrative choice there. All it did was make me laugh and then take away all care about this fight. So once we move on from this fight, we'll be good. But, you know, hopefully 77 has some really good choreography that I can enjoy and stuff like that. And then we'll move on from this fight and get to something better. So, like, comment, subscribe as always, guys. And we'll see you guys back here next time. Have a good one. Sayonara.